Good morning. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Um, so real quick, I want to definitely say so much going on. So I really want to say today is my daughter's birthday. So I want to say happy birthday to my baby. Um, Tuesday was my other daughter's birthday. So happy birthday to her. Um, I do I do want to give condolences to a lot of people that I've been seeing so much of rest in peace. This has happened. This was passed due to COVID. This one passed due to just all different types of things. So I want to say sorry. I'm trying to share, and I ask that you all do the same. Um, and it's just been like crazy. So I just want to say, please, keep all of those in your prayers because people are losing people left and right. Um, and it's you just never know when today is going to be, your last day. You just really never know. So treat people how you want to be treated. That is definitely one. Um, and just love, because you, days to day, it's like death has no age, it has no race, it has no religion, it has none of that attached to it. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So condolences to each and every one of those um, that have lost someone, you know, this year, last year. If you're dealing with something now, so to my family, we it's been a year that we lost my cousin, and then there's been a few years where we lost my grandmother. So this is really it's rough for everybody. But I just wanted to say that, and happy birthday to all that birthday. So I'm excited because today my baby turned 14, y'all. I started crying. I was like, oh Lord, my baby 14. What's going on? But I do ask guys that you share. I have my amazing guest here that I want to introduce. It's funny how we met. Or see, Facebook will bring you to some people, right? Facebook will bring you to some people. So I want to introduce Josh. And now I want to say, is Josh, pronounce your last name because I don't want to mess it up.
Just D'Souza.
D'Souza, right? Did I say
Yeah.
that right?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
So I ask that we all get on your phones. I ask that we share. We got some groups. We got your personal friends pages, whatever. Because I really want to hear his testimony, and I think that also his testimony would be not just great for me to hear, of course, but for each and every one of you that is listening today. This young man is an author. He is a minister. He is a ghostwriter. He got some lists underneath his attached to his name, y'all. He got some stuff attached to his name. So definitely um let them know a little bit about you. Like let's start talking. Let's tell us a little bit about yourself, where you from, and also about your books. So let us know.
Okay, so as she has already stated, my name is Joshua D'Souza. I'm really happy, honored, excited to be here this morning. Um, I am I'm 24 years old. I have been a preacher which is crazy. I've been a preacher for 10 years already. I've been preaching since 14 years old. I am a ghostwriter, which is funny. I say that first because what's hilarious is I started ghostwriting for other people before I did my own first book and things like that. So what a ghostwriter is, I help other people write their books. I either write alongside them, like we write together, or what we will do is what what we will do is they will give me notes or recordings of or whatever they want on the book, and then I take those few notes or the things that they really want relate on the pages, and then I'm able to just go crazy from there, while secretly writing on their behalf, because we go into those assignments knowing, of course, we're secret, we're anonymous, but at the same time we know that we're gonna be okay, because those private secret referrals, to when people say, oh, I need help working on a book, I said, well, I can hook you up with somebody that can help you and things like that. So that's how we thrive off of that. And then I'm an author, my own personal author. Oh wait, actually, I gotta even step back from that for a second. Even once again, before my own books, now I'm also what I like to call a writing coach, where right before I did my first book, I held a whole writing conference and stuff like that. And I've been teaching people every few months on how to write, not just full blown books, but how to write blogs, how to write sermons, how to write poetry, how to write spoken word, how to write, sermons or motivational speeches and all of these things. So I've been doing that. And then right after that, then I stepped into my own and became an author of not just my one, but my first two books back to back at the very end of 2020. So in October of 2020, I released my first ever book, which I like to call it a devotional and sermon collection called Dewdrops of Destiny. And it's like 90 days of devotionals. And what devotionals are, they're short little, like, paragraphs or entries that you can read day to day. Instead of feeling like overwhelmed where you read like a long drawn out chapter, you can just read these little entries that'll only take like 2 minutes a day. Like, whether it's in the morning when you have like a break during work, or maybe before you go to sleep, things like that. Just something that you can put in your heart, something you can meditate on, where I'll have a scripture and then I just expound on the scripture, either what the scripture means to me or how it is applied to my personal walk and my journey and things like that. I put some of my sermons, some of my favorite sermons that I preached over the years, I put them in the book as well and things like that, So I said it's been really beautiful doing that. And then here, it was funny, is that was my first book I released, but that wasn't the first book idea that I had. The first book idea that I had was like in 2014, where I said, okay, I think I want to do fiction, or I want to combine everything that I love, everything I love about, like, church and Christianity, while also combining it with the things I loved, especially when it came to things like, fiction, like, of course, like with like with anime, superheroes, all that other stuff. So that's something that I've been developing for years in my heart, or like planning this out. And then finally in 2020, like I said, back to back in December, that first idea I ever got finally came to fruition. So that ended up becoming a Christian fiction novel about a preacher who is also a superhero. And this is called The Kairos Knight, Scroll One, The Remnant. This is my proudest work right here. It's very thick. It's like almost 300 pages long. It's a very powerful story about a young kid, who grows up, of course, he grows up in ministry. He's a preacher. He does all these amazing things in his community and stuff like that. But of course, he finds out that he has another purpose, that's actually intertwined with his purpose as a preacher, that he also has a purpose, as a superhero, all these beautiful, amazing gifts that he's able to use both with inside and outside the four walls of the church. And I think it's perfect, especially with this pandemic, where people, especially a lot of those in who've been confined to the four walls of the church, now we're being forced, or we have to discover new gifts, new talents that we have that we can utilize even while the church doors may be closed. So it was so beautiful finally putting this together and putting my personal testimony in the book, being able to disguise my personal testimony in the novel. So
So where
that
do we
way I
find
felt
these
more
books, Josh?
comfortable. Hmm?
Where do we find these books?
These are both available. Both books are available on Amazon, both on paperback and in Kindle. And I also, for those that want an autographed copy of the superhero novel, I have those with me currently. So if you want a direct copy from me, you can just, follow me on any of my Facebook pages or my Instagram page and everything, and then you can just inbox me from there, or on both my pages there'll be a link that's easily available where you can click on it and you can easily fill out your name, your address, how you're gonna pay, like Cash App, PayPal, etc. And once I get that information, I'm able to sign your book and ship it immediately. So if you want a signed copy, you can reach out to me. But of course, both books are available on Amazon, both in paperback and in Kindle.
Okay, so first off, let's say good morning, Lila. Good morning, girlfriend. Thank you for joining. Hello, Sister Kathy. How are you? She says, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
Lila,
you
we
so
will
much.
put the information in the comments. For sure. And I'm also going to put it on the page as well. So you guys can definitely see that. So it's in Amazon and Kindle, and we're gonna actually, Josh, when we can, or if anybody who's following Josh can actually put that in that knows him or have a picture of the book. Can you hold the first book up?
Okay. Yeah, this one, Dewdrops of Destiny.
Okay, because I'm gonna write, what's up, Calvin? Good morning. How are you, cuz? I'm gonna put it in here, okay, guys? Dewdrops of Destiny. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's the second one?
Okay. The second one is called the Kairos Night. That is K.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
KAIRO.
Wait, hold on, because I spelled that wrong, y'all.
Right.
Okay, night.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm gonna put so they know both books, just in case you forget his name, which you shouldn't. Like, okay. So that's it. Is there? So those are the two books. They're in there. So check them out, Amazon, Kindle, or you can reach out to him on Facebook, and you can also make a purchase directly through him. So those are great things, and I definitely am interested myself into both of them because I love books of devotional, and I used to do this, and I need to really get back in the habit of it. Is waking up in the morning and making sure that I had a book where it was like like a little small devotional, and that each day that I read it before. And sometimes sometimes it's crazy because you'll have those days where you'll read something and it applies exactly to your life exactly on that day. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's just crazy. And then that was just something that you needed to hear. And it was just right there on, on paper. And you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't, and it helps. So I'm looking forward to definitely getting mine. So don't forget, Josh. Don't forget, Josh. So this is great. And also, you're out of Jersey. No, you're right. You're out of Jersey City, right?
I grew up in East Orange and Orange.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So another thing too, guys, is he's also a minister. And you said you've been doing that for 10 years.
Yep, I've been preaching for 10 years. It's just crazy, since the age of 14. Yep, since 2011.
Let me ask you a question. What made you say, hey, I want to be a ghostwriter? Because I think this with ghostwriting, like hearing you and I spoke to someone else, and it's like I feel like because some everybody not let me not say everybody, but some people want to be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I wrote that book. Yeah, I wrote that book. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wrote that book. But it's you're writing the book, but it's actually the words of another person. Correct?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like you're co-writing for them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's they're giving us what they want on the pages. I always tell them to make sure that they don't feel like I'm writing on their behalf. Even though I am, I try to tell them, you did the hardest part. Yeah, I'm just getting straight to you. You did the hardest part. You did the bulk of the work for the book, and the hardest part of the book by having to live it out. You had to go through all these trials and tribulations and experiences. I didn't have to. I thank God I didn't have to go through the things that some of the people I'm writing for went through. So they literally already paid the price of the book by going through it. I'm just here to help them tell it, because for them it could be easier for me to help them write the things they went through, especially some of the more difficult areas that might have happened during the course of their life. And then I'm able from there to help them relay what they want on the pages. Like I said, they can either give me notes or recordings, or I know like one thing I did for one of them, which I love, is like where every few weeks I would just be on the phone with somebody for like 2 hours, and they would just, in a sense, they would just dump everything, like, like this happened this day, this happened this year, just telling me their story, just literally walking me through their entire journey, their entire life. And then I'm just taking notes, taking notes, taking notes. And then, of course, after I take those notes and things like that, then I'm able to go chapter by chapter and put what they said and literally narrate what they said. It feels good because it feels like I'm almost like writing a movie or like writing like a biopic for them, like, because I'm narrating, in a sense, narrating their story. But of course, I'm narrating their story from a first person. So, of course, I'm not saying, oh, so and so, this, so and so, that I'm speaking. I'm put, I went through this, all of this, like speaking on their behalf. Like I said, they went through it, but of course, since they needed somebody that had the gifting and the skill to write on their behalf. And of course, the other thing is, a lot of people, they want to be able to write this book or, sit down and write. But of course, time is far spent, because family, busy with family, busy with work, especially a lot of my clients right now. It's not reduced just to this, but for some reason, which I found amazing, I think almost all of my clients now are all pastors right now, which I think is very humbling. And of course, being a pastor, that's a lot of responsibility. That's not a 9 to 5 pastoring. It's almost like 24/7. So it's my honor and pleasure to help them, because their time is so consumed. But it's like but we don't want to use that as an excuse as to why they can't get this book out. So I'm like, send me your notes, tell me your story, and I will help you push that out, because like I said, they already did the hard part by having to live through these stories, live through these experiences.
So let me ask you this. So what is your average timing in writing?
Um
And you guys
for
can ask questions to whoever's watching. You can ask questions. I want you guys to engage on this Saturday, afternoon, morning, whatever your time zone is. So, but yes. So what's your average in writing? So I give you what and what we doing with it.
I will say my average, my current. I say this with much with challenge us of my current ghostwriting average is 2 to 3 months, which because I guarantee all of my clients that you would have a chapter done I always say I always say weekly, but I always say 7 to 10 days, just to be safe. If something happens where like there's a scheduling conflict or something comes up on my end, I'll always make sure to communicate, let them know. But on average, it's a week and a half that I'm able to write a full chapter for them. And then, of course, 2 to 3 months. Because on average, most of these books are like either 10 lengthy chapters or like 15 or so smaller chapters. So on average, I'm able to do this in 2 to 3 months, because I know a lot of people somehow booked me around like November and December, and I'm now finishing those up and will be finished in like a few weeks and stuff like that, since I was literally writing those other books while working on that, which is funny. So like I said, my ghostwriting average is 2 to 3 months. My personal writing average, when I was working on the superhero novel, I still don't believe it, that almost 300 page book, I wrote that in only, I said, it's been sitting in me for years. So when I finally sat down in September to fully write it out, it only took me 2 short weeks to write
Oh,
the whole
wow.
entire story. And I always tell my clients that, just to give them that. I say, I'm not guaranteeing that your book's gonna be done in 2 weeks, but just to let them know that I do write really fast, and that that I
Well,
do.
I guess if the money's there and they have their papers, why, and they have their stuff, then it helps
Right, it is a
bring it along.
It is a motivator as well,
Right? Like
right?
that with
It
motivation.
gives you that
Hey,
adrenaline,
like
right? It's like, yeah,
motivate,
right.
so. But I want to talk about, because you was the one who came up with this title
Yeah.
of how I turned my pain into a pen. So I didn't come up with that title.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you was the one,
Mm-hmm.
normally I do, but I was like, okay, she came with this one. So because you came out with that one, I want to ask you, where did that come from? Let's talk about how you turned your pain into a pen. So first off, let's talk about, we talked a little bit about your pen, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about your pain, your
Mm-hmm.
testimony, and I'm hoping on this Saturday that we get to touch somebody out
Yeah.
there. So let's
Yep.
go, Josh.
All right. So, yeah, 'cause there's so many things I could. Yeah, I'm gonna just start. Okay. Yeah, let's start from day one. Okay. So, first of all, I thank God that always had a roof over my head. I thank God that I was blessed to have I'm blessed to have both of my parents in my life, my grandparents as well and stuff like that. But even with all of that, things were still very, very trying. I mean, growing up, my mom was the only one who worked. My father was very disabled because he was shot. Like, this was long before I was born, but he was shot many years ago. But unfortunately, as he got older, those areas where he was shot at, it started to really mess with his body the older he got. So of course, when he had to let people know that whenever he applied to work, but of course because of that, nobody ever hired him. So all the responsibility, the financial responsibility, fell on my mom. So of course it's always been, I won't say poor, but of course, but we've always struggled, my whole entire life in that regards. And then of course, for me, growing up, my whole life for the most part, I have always been plus size. So of course, especially growing up in school, that did come with a lot of bullying, a lot of rejection, especially high school and early, high school and college years, definitely a lot of rejection, especially not always feeling accepted, not always feeling attracted, all these other things that came in, some very, very harsh, scenarios. And then to top all of that off, I remember when I was like a few years ago, I'm like, okay, I experienced bullying, rejection at school, but never in a million years did I ever think I was going to experience things like, bullying, rejection, verbal abuse, even in the church. And I'm not just talking about like the peers and the pews. I'm talking verbal abuse, rejection, and honestly almost borderline bullying from the pulpit, from the preacher, from the pastor, and things like that. Because for me, when I knew I was called to preach as a teenager back in 2010, 2011, I remember I told my pastor at the time how I felt. And of course, I thought because I was a young man willing to accept what I felt this was my calling and my assignment, I thought they would be fully supportive. But no, when I tell you, I was met with laughter. I was met with ridicule. I was definitely met with a lot of these lame, horrible excuses that they came up with as to why you're making it up. It's in your head. It's not real. You need to get over yourself. All of that stuff. You want to be a preacher just so you can feel important. All these other, just a lot of crazy things that was said. I remember how painful that was, thinking that I thought, wait, but you're the leader, you're the man of God, so you should be able to see that this is on my life as well. Everybody else in the church can see it, like literally all the other leaders, like the deacons, the other ministers, all of that. And I think he also got tired of that. He got really tired of everybody else saying to them, oh my God, that kid is anointed. That kid really got a special gift on his life. You need to do something with him. You need to give him opportunity and space to let his gift grow. But no, I was met with so much resistance. And what hurt was, of course, people saw it outside of the church I was a part of. So that's how the preaching started. I started getting invited to preach at all these services, and not just for kids, not just the services for the youth and the kids. I started getting invited, to do Sunday, to preach for regular Sunday morning to the all people, to the adults even,
Oh, wow.
right back in like 2012, 2013. So of course, I would always make sure I made sure my leader that it was okay when these people invited me. But of course, I always tell people, I said, I feel like the Lord forced him to say yes, even though he didn't want to. Like the Lord forced him to give me permission when I go, because I understood, I'm representing, of course, I'm representing myself, I'm representing God, and of course, I'm representing the church that I come from. But I felt like, he was forced to say yes and that. But of course, every time I asked him, there was always like some very like cold remark, like, okay, yeah, you can go. Just remember, you're not a real preacher. They just give you a chance because you're a kid. This is just a phase. All these other things, and it hurt because it's like I struggled with feeling illegitimate, because it's like when I went to these services, or even some services where there would be like multiple speakers and stuff like that, I feel illegitimate because everybody else, any other young preachers that was there, their pastors were there to support them, but mine was never there, blatantly showing, how much they didn't believe in me and stuff like that. So from the minute I felt called, it's like a lot of people, or he, mainly him, didn't believe me, but it's like I had no choice but to still choose to believe in myself, saying, I don't care whether you believe this or not. I know this is who I am. And I know this is who I am, and you can't tell me otherwise. I mean, not in a rude way, but it's like, I hope respectfully, I know this is what I'm called to do, and I'm really sorry that you don't think so, but clearly the majority sees it, and it's just you that don't, because of jealousy and intimidation and Lord knows what else. But I was determined. I said, even though it hurts, saying, feeling that I'm getting all this acceptance, I'm getting all these opportunities outside of the church that I belonged in. But I said, okay, but no matter what, I know God will make a way escape. Maybe a door's going to open at another church where I will be accepted. So that's what I was saying back then. But then, of course, and that happened where, yes, I did ended up going through this season where I ended up at multiple churches, where I thought they were genuine, where, yeah, they saw what was on life and they said, yeah, no, you definitely are called. You are definitely anointed. I definitely believe you'll be a pastor and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I would see that there were hidden agendas and ulterior motives, and of course, where it was almost like, I don't want to call it a brainwash, but it's like they didn't like how I was. They were trying to force me to change things about me. And what I mean by that is not major stuff, but little stuff like I want you to dress a certain way. I want you to look a certain way. I want you to preach like certain people. And I'm like, but that's not who I am. And I remember there was this one of the churches I was a part of where it's like whenever a certain young preacher was invited, they would broadcast it all and everything. But when it was my turn, like when all the other young preachers were coming, they would scream it to the mountaintops, all that. Oh, hey, so and so's coming to our church, make sure you buy it. But when it was my turn, it was empty. It was, they didn't say anything, almost like they was ashamed of me or stuff like that. And I remember when it was time for me to be officially licensed as a minister and stuff like that, there were these lame excuses that they came up with, a long list of lame excuses. And when I stood up for myself and told you I'm being played or you're taking advantage of me, that kind of blew up. But of course, it put me in a predicament where I said I had no choice but to walk away from them, because I'm like, you're not going to take advantage of me. And then you're not also going to be like, they know they're taking advantage of you, but they want you to think that you're lashing out because it's like you just feel some way because of how your previous leader did. It's like, no, I'm wise enough to know when I'm being played, because they thought because I was young, because this was happening when I was like 19 and 20 and stuff like that. They thought because I was young that I would just do any old thing that they would say, that, to compromise or to give in to what they wanted me to do, to make them feel better about themselves or to dumb myself down. Because there was a lot of times they say your preaching is too strong. You're preaching like you're on the level that you're not on yet. And I'm like, well, that's what the Lord told me to say to the church. If you got a problem with what I said, you take it up with him. I'm not trying to upstage you at all. My mindset back then was, I'm like, Lord, why are these grown people who are twice and three times my age jealous of me? I just want to preach the word, and I want to sit back down. I want to go home and play my video games afterwards. I'm not trying to take your seat. I'm not trying to outshine you. I'm just want to do what I believe is my purpose.
Well,
but
we
of
have
course,
someone.
I get a lot of resistance. So.
Okay, well, we have someone that says, Sister Kathy says, maybe that's why, that's from my church, so I still call her Sister Kathy. She says, maybe that's why you became a ghostwriter for the preachers, not entirely in the forefront.
Yes, that is definitely part of it. And what I love about it is some of the people I'm writing for went through very, very, very similar experiences. So that's part of the pain turning into a pen, because now I'm able to fully empathize with what they went through, which adds to the intensity of how I write their story and narrate their story, especially parts of their story that are very close to mine. So when it gets to, I remember I was cracking up one of my clients when we got to a certain part in their story that was very similar to something I went through, which was where people in ministry was taking advantage of them, or people in ministry was like, telling everybody else stay away from them or they're no good, that whole gossip, slander, blacklisting, blackballing, all that stuff, because I went through that as well. So it's like they was cracking up because when I got to that part of their story, they said, I don't know what came over you, but I'm like, right, exactly. Like, I was able to go in on that part of their story, and it was therapeutic for me to help them narrate my story, but to kind of release that,
into their story.
Exactly.
That feeling, because when you're reading, it's about feeling. I know when I read a book, I want to,
right.
it's the feeling that you get when you're reading it. So you put that feeling to it, that emotion part to it. And what I like is that I want to be honest with you, because a lot of times we don't know what God is taking us through.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we go through we go through this season, you know what I mean, to season us. You know what I mean? Like to be seasoned in that. And what I love is that you still remain, and this is a lesson in anything in life right now, like that as I'm hearing you. And that is that no matter what it is that you go through, no matter what trials, no matter what tribulations, no matter how many stones that you have thrown at you, no matter how many people talked about you, belittled you, keep going and believing in yourself and believing in God that you will get through it for His purpose. You know what I mean? For His purpose, for His reason, you know, for in His season, in His timing.
Yes, exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Because I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday, and you know, a lot of times because we're like we're a now type of people. You know what I mean?
Right.
McDonald's and Burger King and stuff has made it where we want it our way, how we want it. You know, we want it now. That's why they got the drive-throughs, y'all. We got used to it, so we want it now. We don't want to go home and make that as Bishop Robinson would say, you know, like you really don't. I'm paraphrasing it the way he would say it, but you know, it's you don't want to go home and make that burger, that cheeseburger, and them French fries from home. You know, you want to go to the drive-through through McDonald's and go get it. Why? Because it's faster. You want it now, and we want things now. But God is like, no. You know, this is not the time. So when we want it in our timing, it's not the mishaps and the bumps and bruises, you know what I mean? It's not happy, but it's rougher, you know. So, but look at now. Look at where you're at now, and that testimony is definite. I know you got more, so I'm definitely gonna let you finish sharing it. But I just like for those who are watching, and I know even for myself, it's like, you know, you get those moments in life where you're like, where am I going? What am I doing? You know, like, this is just too rough for me. This is too tough. Like, how am I going to make it? You know, they talked about me. You know what I mean? They belittled me. That's why I don't know. God favors me. That is like,
man, yeah.
I'll tell you, every time I hear that to this day, I break down. Okay, I break down. Okay, because the favor of God, the favor that He has upon you, and you know, I tell people, and I'm not knocking anybody their belief in God, because you know, it's that, you know, people. I think today in society we don't know what people go through. We beat them down so much. But I tell people, just love God, just love, have faith. You know what I mean? If you're in the shower, just talk to Him and slowly allow God to work on that person. You know what I mean? Because we beat it into like, oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to
exactly.
Just I tell people, I am not God. I am not higher than thy. I am not, you know, holy, you know, holier than thy. That's not me. But best to believe, and I'm not perfect and I'm far from it. So when we have people thinking that I'm perfect and you must be perfect too, that's not the case. The case is that I tell people, love Him, love God. You know, I would read the Bible every day, all day. No. Build your own relationship with Him, because what he's taking me through and what He's doing with me, man, it's not the same journey that He's doing with you and taking you through. You get what I mean? So definitely, I'm loving this, Josh. I'm loving it, because let me tell you this, okay? People deal with bullying in churches.
Yes, they do.
On different levels, different people. I mean, I've seen some stuff happen. You know, I keep my mouth shut. I don't say nothing, but I do sit back and be like, that was a shame.
Right,
you know?
Exactly.
And I think, and now that I'm older, you know, looking back, and I'm like, Dak, somebody should have stuck up for her. Or somebody should have stuck up for him. You get what I mean? Because right is right and wrong is wrong.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of people will see it, but they don't say anything.
They do. They will say, because they're afraid if I speak up, I'm gonna lose, my opportunities. I'm gonna fall out with them. They gonna do the same thing that they doing to him to me. So they rather stay quiet to keep in good graces with, with said organization, fellowship, leader, bishop, whatever. They'll keep silent and stuff like that. But of course, it's like that Peter thing. I call it like Peter and Nicodemus, because remember Nicodemus, he secretly wanted to talk with Jesus and learn from him in private, but he wanted nothing to do with him in public. And in that time where Peter was ashamed, where everybody said, "You're associated with this dude. Oh,
Woo! Look, I got goosebumps, Josh.
Right,
You're giving me goosebumps.
In modern day language, I was trying to preach that, in modern day language, oh, are you connected to them? Oh, is this your man's, all of that, and Peter's like, I don't know the man. And of course, people will know that you're good. People will know that you're pure. People will know that the stuff they said you did is not true. And they will still deny you just to protect themselves. They will still denounce you and, disregard you, even out of pride, because of sometimes, that secret jealousy. It's like, actually, yeah, if they're out the picture, then I don't have to be threatened by their potential anymore. So even if they know those lies are not true, they will still, just to protect themselves. I remember, like I said, back, like getting more deeper into like that blackball season, I remember there were a group of people that were telling me at the time, oh, I can't be associated with you because of what was said. And I'm not trying to lose my opportunities, or I'm not trying to get in trouble with my past or being connected to you. And I basically said, well, if the pulpit and a microphone is more important to you than a genuine friendship, then you can have that, because I don't need it if it's gonna come like that. Or if you want to be privately associated to me, but you're publicly ashamed of me, I'm like, I don't have time for what I like to call, the Nicodemus. I don't have time for those that want to be privately connected to me, but they're publicly ashamed of me and stuff like that. Or even on the terms of our friendships or partnerships are more on a equal level, but in public, you're trying to claim me like I'm under you or something like that, when they know that's not the case. I have to separate from a lot of people in ministry who, in private, they coming to me for prayer. They come to me wisdom all the time, but because of their age, they want to publicly act like they was above me, or publicly act like they taught me everything I know. And I'm like, excuse me, mister, excuse me, miss, but I was this. God's to make me this long before you came into my life. So you have no right to take credit for what he's doing, And I think that's honestly why I'm grateful that the Lord didn't allow certain people, certain leaders, certain pastors to give me what I wanted in terms of, like, being affirmed by them, being ordained by them and stuff like that, because they would have used that to take credit for what he was doing in my life. And plus, I'm grateful because that's part of the turning my pain in my pen. We can go all the way back to 2011 when I started preaching. This all started because, like I said, remember my first pastor did not believe in me at all. So I had to learn. That's how this writing journey started. I had to learn how to write sermons all by myself. I had to learn how to make the messages. I had to pray and ask God what to say, because my pastor was not willing to teach me at all. So I was literally all by myself in terms of like learning how to write. But I'm grateful because of that. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but it's like my messages are, I won't say are, they're like, my messages aren't tainted by their influence in terms of like, this is how I preach and I expect you to preach like this. And if you don't preach like this, you're not preaching correctly and stuff like that. Like, I remember the one time my pastor tried to call himself helping me. This is the first one, the one that, was really coming down hard on me. Like when I first started, he was saying something along the lines of, you're not a real preacher unless you learn how to preach without paper. But I'm like, I'm grateful I didn't listen, because if I didn't preach without paper, I wouldn't have the book that I have now, because half of the book is those sermons that you said, oh, you're not a real preacher up here. I'm like, oh, now all of a sudden. But that was that one lesson that he called himself giving me, and I'm glad I didn't listen, because that was my writing gift being developed back then. But yeah, so that's why I'm grateful to God for like I want to call like that authenticity of the gift, where he didn't give me what I asked for. Oh Lord, let me be noticed by this man of God. Let me be noticed by this woman of God. Oh, if they highlighted me, if they promoted me, I'll be in a different place. But that's where I think that's why it was that
He
hard.
didn't give you what you wanted. He gave you what you needed.
Exactly.
And that right there is a blessing in itself. Is that he don't give you what you want. You know what I mean? But he gives you what you need. And people don't realize that. It's like, hey, I ain't looking for the latest Tesla, Lord. You know what I mean? Not that you can't be blessed with your wants. You know what I mean? But God will definitely bless you with your needs. And man, you got Sister Kathy says all of our walks are different. Your journey and experience led you to today. And then she said, talk about validation. Yes, yes. I mean, it's amazing, right? That you hear this, and then despite of like you're hearing these, okay, well, this happened, but then you just see that light, that shines upon you. See, it's not about what you do in a forefront that matters, especially when you have that relationship with God, because your relationship with God is a personal thing. You know what I mean? That's something personal between you and him. And so it's like, no, son, no king. This is not where I want you, but I want you here. And he's molding you and he's forming you, and inside and out, mentally, emotionally, he's forming you, in his image. That's why that relationship, he's not forming you in this pastor's image or that pastor's image or this pastor's image. He's molding you to be in his image. And that is, I'm telling you, like, that's what I think that is just so amazing, and that we need to understand, you know what I mean? Like, you're not meant to be in nobody's image, made in no man's image.
Exactly.
But his, hi, Auntie Denise. She said, you better speak, young man. Yes, amen. And it's just oh my God, I ain't gonna look. I got goosebumps.
Wow.
I got goosebumps. So right now, we have a service on a Saturday, okay?
Right, exactly.
Look, man, he said we're 2 and 3 together in his name, okay? Yes. So it's just amazing. And I want people to know it, just don't give up. Build your relationship with God. And I don't knock anybody, I'm not one, because I don't really do with religion and politics, you're going all day. You know what I mean? They turn into fist fights. We ain't trying to fist fight up in here. But build your relationship with your higher power. I am and one thing, I could talk about God all day. I was just, me and a friend, we went from one topic to just, preaching and praising and crying and everything yesterday on the phone, okay? So, see, yes, I'm in the airport. That's right. So it's just amazing to you can fellowship in any type of way. And sometimes we need this, we need this. And I'm so grateful to hear your testimony on this Saturday.
And we're just getting started, right?
Yes, because this is just, honestly, it's giving me some insight, It's giving me some insight. I know you and I, we had a conversation. So, we know what, we got some stuff in the making. And this is just amazing to just hear. And nothing against, and what I love is that we're not knocking anybody, because to be honest with you, people, I'm not saying this to be mean, but I gotta be real. Is that people think that when you walk into a church that everybody in there is perfect.
Right.
Because that's the image that is portrayed. And we have to stop thinking that, because just like you get bullied outside the church, just like you get belittled outside the church, those things still go on in the church. Those people, not everybody, but those are people that's working on themselves as well.
Right.
So, and the same thing that goes in and out. I just say really try to connect yourself with the people that, you just never know, But guess what? You learn something from it. Through my good and bad journeys, from church, I've had great.
Right.
I've had my bad. But guess what? Guess what that taught me through my bad? It taught me to love a little more.
Yes.
Forgive a little more.
Exactly.
And guess what? It's crazy because those ones that was like, that I knew that was talking about me, or I heard that talks about me, like I would hear it. Like I heard it. Like really? I thought you was my friend. And I heard you say that. And guess what? To this day, now is a whole different type of relationship. You get what I'm saying? So now they come to me and be like, girl, you inspire me. You know what I mean? So you just never know when people, see that not knowing that God could transform you on so many ways. God could transform your life. You know what I mean? Don't look at somebody and say they're a bum and a drug addict and don't think that God can't transform their life. Don't look at that person and say they're a prostitute or harlot. Their life can't be changed. You know what I mean? People's lives definitely can be changed around, but that relationship is beyond. Pray for people. Stop talking about them. Pray for them. Pray for them. Anybody in my life, family, friends, associates, whether they're good or bad in my life, You talk about me. I don't have the best relationship with my mother. That's for a whole nother different story, topic. But guess what? I pray that God opens her eyes.
Yeah.
My job is to still love her despite, everything else. And that's what the godly in you supposed to do. So God doesn't say discriminate, talk about, beat down. He says to pray and love.
Yeah.
We can't use the Bible when we want to use it, but overall, is to continue to just love thy neighbor, right? That's what people always throw around, right?
Right.
Love thy neighbor, okay? Love your enemies. Love, your family. Love your friends. Love thy neighbor. Love those who talk about you. I ain't gotta sit down at the table and break bread with you, but pray for them because you never really know either. So just keep going, Josh. All right.
Okay.
I got my coffee.
Yeah, it gets deeper. Yeah, because that's why the ink is flow. That's why the ink flows so easily now. Okay, yeah, because the ink is deep because the pain runs deep. So yeah,
say that again.
Right, exactly.
Say that again.
Yeah, the ink runs deep because the pain runs deep. So yeah, so it was definitely. Yeah, these challenges, I'm grateful now, like I said, because my pen was authentic. My pen wasn't a clone of anybody, like we said, because these preachers, these pastors were trying too hard to make me like the image they wanted, but like you said, that forgiveness part is like, Lord, unfortunately, I understand where their warped mindset come from, because that's what their pastors taught them. That's what their leaders taught them. And some of them, especially those who their pastors and their leaders and their mentors are still living, they worship them and unfortunately put them on a pedestal. And they're trying to do everything to please them instead of pleasing God. I feel like even in the church, there's a lot of idolatry in the church, especially in the pulpit, because, like you said, whether it was, thank God that wasn't my experiences, but we do know there are those that have experienced things as full blown as, those private, like sexual abuse and stuff like that. For me, thank God it was never that. But for me, definitely the verbal abuse, the rejection, and all of that. But of course, with any type of abuse when you try to speak up at first, people are like, oh, not my pastor. He or she could have never did that. Because the sad part is hundreds of people have positive experiences about them. So those 2 or 3 people that had a negative experience, nobody will believe it, because like, how could this be the same person? But it is, and I said, but because it's sad, pride and intimidation and jealousy when you go into leadership and those things go unchecked, you'll be surprised what type of things people will do when they feel threatened in that regard. And that's what I said. I was like, Lord, I'm a young person. Why is people so threatened by me and stuff like that? And I remember that one of the most heartbreaking seasons of my life. It was a beautiful season. I said both good and bad, where there was a church that I was a part of that I loved with all my heart. It was beautiful, it was powerful. But I said, but one thing that broke my heart was nobody preached in terms of like, my favorite preachers came all the time, the famous preachers that was on TV and stuff like that. But there were dozens and dozens of ministers and preachers and elders on staff. And in the several years I've been at church, none of them preached once. And I said, I felt like that was like a suffocation and a slavery, where it's like there's like portraying this image like the leader, I'm on the level as all the people you see on TV, and you're all down there. So show up, shut up, and sit down. And I'm like, that's not the point. So that's where I got to the point where I said, Lord, I don't see anything happening here. So I'm not at that church anymore. Thank God. I'm serving faithfully at a different church now. But while I was at this church, that's where I got to the point where the Lord was like, see, you're over here getting discouraged because I had to run to this particular church after, like I said, after I was put in a place where I had to leave the other place. So I was like, I felt like David, because if you ever read the story of David, remember Saul kept trying to kill David, so David had to keep running for his life, going place to place just to feel safe. He wasn't trying to be, and that's the other part you said, where people are judging you, like, drug addict, harlot, or for, in some cases, or people that have my story, church hopper, where it's like, yes, like, yeah, you call us church hoppers, but you're not giving us anything to submit to. You call us church hoppers, but you're blatantly harming us and neglecting us. And there are people like me. There were people like me who were called, but there was no room for their gifts to grow. So that's why the Lord got to the point where it's like, listen, you're here waiting for a man. You've been waiting here almost 8, 9 years waiting for a man or a woman to use you. But I gave you something. I gave you a pen. So you don't need a man or woman to tell you to write or use a pen. You don't need a man or woman to tell you how to make devotionals or to write a blog. You don't need a title or a position to write a
That's
book.
right.
And that's where the
Yes.
Lord really got on my case in that regard. And because a huge major factor in everything that's happened here is, this is the most part. This is where it gets even worse, in a good way, but it gets better. The reason why everything was just piling on me so hard, and why it was so hard for me to write, was because I thought my escape from my first church was going to college. And I went to college in 2014. I went to a Christian college, and I was studying. They had a bachelor's in youth ministry. So I was studying youth ministry in hopes of getting a bachelor's in youth ministry. Because my goal was, okay, maybe I'll become a youth pastor first, and then, become a regular, like, senior pastor later on. But I felt like if I studied that degree, and it would have opened many doors where I could have easily escaped the church I was at. Instead of just saying I'm done at this church, I could have been like, oh, guess what? I got a job as a youth pastor, so I'll see you later. But that was not the case, because December 2016 / January 2017, after this long, very, very painful cycle of depression and rejection and just so many very dark things that happened to me while I was on campus that I didn't tell a soul about, not even my roommates at the time and stuff, or my best friends and stuff like that. I was going to church faithfully because I loved, one of my favorite churches was the churches I was a part of in college because they were so good to me. I had no negative experiences at all there. But I was showing up there faithfully every Sunday. They didn't know how much I was suffering Monday through Saturday. But unfortunately, the depression was so dark and I was getting physically sick and nobody to the point, but nobody believed my professors didn't believe me, nobody. So it was very painful. But unfortunately, I came to an abrupt end because December 2016, January 2017, of course, after failing too many times, 3 semesters in a row, 13 F's in a row. Of course, I had to leave the school. I was kicked out of the school in 2017. That was one of the hardest things that I've ever endured in my life, to be documented as a failure. All this money that my grandparents and my parents and my aunts and uncles raised up for me, gone to kaput and stuff like that. It was very painful. I didn't want to even show up to any of the family functions because that shame, just that shame, that weight, and that's why it was so frustrating in 2017 when my leader at the time, my second leader at the time, was putting me through all this comparison and all this hell because I'm like, you don't under. I was at the time was like, you don't understand. This is what I originally thought. It's like, this is all I have left. I already got kicked out of school, so it's like for you to give me this hard time where I'm just trying to be obedient to God, and you got all these weird requirements and regulations and trying to force me to be something I'm not. You're not helping me grow at all. And that's where I got to a point in 2018, 2019 where I was frustrated because no degree, no opportunities after being blackballed. This is like a three-way deadlock where nothing's happening, where I'm going through this drought because remember, not having a degree and not being in ministry and honestly where I wasn't even getting a job, like where it seemed like every time I applied to work, nothing would happen. So I was going through these three areas of shame where I'm like, I'm supposed to be this man of God. I'm supposed to be somebody that you told that they're a preacher, but the three things that I thought I needed, I don't have. I don't have a degree, I don't have a job, and I don't have a ministry title. So how are you telling me to go forth without these three things that I was hoping to have by now? Watching my friends and my loved ones get all these things, especially those that were called to preach, watching all my friends become, ministers before me, watching all of them get degrees and all that before me, and just feeling stuck, feeling like, was I being punished or all these things. And that's why it was so hard when God told me, don't wait anymore, pick up your pen in spite of how you feel, because the Lord had to remind me over and over and over again, those grades is not a reflection of your intelligence.
Yes.
That was depression, that was spiritual warfare, that was not a reflection of how smart you are. Because in school and in elementary school and high school, more times than not, at least most of the year I would be like, A's and B's and maybe a few periodic C's here and there. But things, of course, when it came to Bible and English like that, it was always B plus A, things like that. So I was very smart. But of course, depression, you don't want to do nothing. When you're sick, you all you can do is hide in your bed and cry. 'Cause that's what was going on when I was at school and stuff like that. So 2019 comes, and that's when the Lord really started dealing with me, saying, I need you to start writing. You're making these devotionals and so like that. So I've made devotionals monthly, and then of course people was being blessed by them because, like you said at the time, the Lord's like, don't wait for another man or woman to call you anymore. I need you to start stepping out. And of course that turned into people starting to ask me to help them write. And I remember when the first person called me in January of 2020 saying, hey, I had a dream about you. I've been having quite a few dreams about you. And the Lord's been leading me to ask you if you can help me do my autobiography. And of course, my first response was, don't you want somebody who's experienced? Don't you want somebody that has an English degree and knows like all the grammar and the periods and the commas and all of that? That was my first initial response, even though the Lord played on my heart saying, this is definitely me, trust me. Because I said, I definitely did not feel qualified. I'm like, Lord, I don't have my own book out yet. Simultaneously in this season, the Lord was telling me to do a whole writing conference. I'm like, once again, I don't have my book out yet. You tell me to do a virtual conference. I don't have any money. Like you said, no degree, no job, no ministry title. But long story short, I stepped out on faith when I hosted my first ever virtual writing conference in 2020. That's why I thank God for the pandemic, because it forced people that have been muzzled and suffocated in the pews to force themselves to finally, because God wants an investment. Like if you ever read the 5 Talents, God wanted an investment on those. It's like, okay, you've been going to church for all these years. You got all these sermons, you sing all these songs, all these preachers and prophets laid hands on you. What are you going to finally do something with all that's been stored up inside of you? And that's why I thank God for 2020, because that was my turn to finally do something with everything that's been placed inside of me. So I did this writing conference. It was mind-blowing because, like I said, once again, no job, no ministry title, no degree. Yet the my first ever writing conference had over 100 people, and this was back in May. This was before I had the book out. And watch this. Stepping out on faith to trust God to host a writing conference, I charged like $30. Sir. Oh yeah, my writing conference, my 2021 writing conference is currently going on for those that might be interested after I'm finished. But yeah, I did that, charged $30. I taught 2 weeks straight, every single lesson completely by myself. I taught about, I said blogs, devotionals, sermons, poetry. I started off the class by talking about what I call the holy call of writing, saying, writing for me isn't just a skill or career, it's a calling. It's part of my calling. I consider my writing and preaching, one and the same and stuff like that. So I was letting people know that this is a call from God. And yeah, you don't need an approval from a man or woman to write the gospel. Because if we didn't have if people didn't write, we would not have the Bible. The Bible are a bunch of books written by men and women who were called to write those books. So for me, I had to get to a point where I trusted God. And catch this, like I said, I had no money at all, but the conference was so overwhelming. Like, people, like I said, people was registering left and right. People was sowing and giving towards the conference left and right. And then at the very end of the conference, other than initial registration, I didn't ask for a single offering or anything. But at the end, I still opened the floor because I said, I do believe in the principles of giving and it shall be given back to you, so like that. So at the very end of the conference, a whole extra wave of, blessing, because people was just so overwhelmed by the teaching. So I wasn't that person asking for any amount. They just gave whatever. But when I said they gave whatever, they just went above and beyond. And afterwards, the Lord was like, okay, see what I just did here?
Well, just
I
like
told
Sister
you a year ago.
Just like Sister Kathy said, she said, your gifts will make room for you.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? And that is so true. And one thing, Auntie Denise, that I like that you put, she said, they were threatened by your anointing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one thing that I do want to say is, God bless his soul, my uncle would always say to me, people are not always threatened by your beauty. People are not always threatened by how much money you have, or people are threatened by your strength. You know what I mean? People are threatened. So we always be like, well, why people feel so threatened by me or jealous of me? And you don't see it. You know what I mean? But it's something about your life. It's something, because everything is not about materialistic.
Exactly.
So they were threatened, as he was telling me, people are threatened by your strength. You know, people are threatened by what that God favors you. And that's just it right there, brother. Like it's the anointing that no matter what, they can't shake it. Because what God has for you is for you.
Right.
What they have for you, no weapon formed against you prospers.
Exactly.
And people don't really get that because God will put a hedge around you. You know, that when a hurricane comes, the tornadoes come, like they can, and guess what? A shingle may break here or a crack here, but guess what? That hedge is still strong around you.
Yes.
You know, it shakes and then, you know, a little bit, and you know, you may be like, oh, I think they're about to take me away from here. But but you're still rooted and grounded, and that hedge
Yes.
is still there. And that is the amazing and the awesomeness of God. You know,
Yes.
that is his awesomeness. And
Right.
that is why, and I always say this, faith is my favorite word. There's no word in this whole entire world. Ooh, you're about to make me start crying and shouting. I'm so serious. There's
Yeah.
no word, okay, to me. This is me. Faith. Because if you have faith, everything else just follows because you have faith
Exactly.
in yourself. You have faith in God. You have faith, and to me, it's just like keep believing. You
Right.
have faith the size of a mustard seed. Just that little faith will blossom into something so major. You know what I mean? And
Right.
just
Because you
knowing that
have no
it's in his
choice.
timing, not in my timing. And that's
Exactly.
what I always pray, God, not in my timing, but in yours. You know, don't give me what I want, Lord. Give me what I need.
I need.
What I need, not what I want. Because I want a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that is right. It's not, that doesn't mean that that's going to nourish me. You know,
Right.
that doesn't mean that it's going to water me. That is going to strengthen me. That is going to enlighten me. You know, that is going to bless me.
Right.
Because when God blesses you, his purpose is not just to bless you. His purpose is to bless you so it could bless others.
Exactly.
Because this world ain't about just you. This world is not about
Exactly.
you. Your life is not about you. Your life is about others. And Joshua, that's what he's done to you. It wasn't just about him blessing you. He blessed you so you could bless others.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go through our testimony. When I tell people my story, they be like, I don't know how you did it. I don't even know how you still believe in God. I get that.
Right.
I get people to
Exactly.
say, I don't know how you
Exactly.
still believe in God. Because if
Mhm.
I tell you, we're gonna have that, um, and I'm just saying, you know what? It's but God. It's but God that I'm still in my right state of mind. It's but God
Yes.
that I'm still standing. It's but God that I still am able to be a great mother. You get what I mean? And I'm still in my right state of mind. I still got my health and
Yes.
strength. And I'm still able to love.
Right. Exactly. Still.
Still. So we sit there and
Still.
we look at the negative. You know what I'm saying? But we don't realize, but God, I'm still standing. I'm still standing.
Still.
And when you
Yeah.
focus on that, I'm telling you, that we focus too much in this world on the negativity. Who don't like you?
Exactly.
What you don't got? What, you know what? Look,
Exactly.
let me tell you something. I got me a little pup Kia minivan, but
Mhm.
guess what? I'm blessed for that because
Right.
I don't have to have a car. So when you bless,
Right.
when you're grateful for those little things, God is going to bless you abundantly. When you
Exactly.
do what you're doing from here, Josh, that's what you're doing. You're doing from here despite all that you have been
Yes.
through. You're still standing on his word. You're still standing on his word. Again, you're still standing on his word.
Right.
That right there, that is blessing you abundantly. He's blessing you and you in ways that you don't even know that's on the way. It's already here.
Exactly.
It's coming. We got to speak those things
Coming.
to an existence. That's another thing. You know, we got to speak those blessings into as it's happening now. Walk in it, talk in it, think in it.
Yeah.
But we're so focused on, well, she was talking about me, you know, and he
Exactly.
said, and I don't
Right.
got this. And look how God did. You wasn't
Exactly.
working. And look,
Exactly. And that's why the conference was so major because,
Well,
like
let me
I
know
said,
about the next conference.
right,
I want to support.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because, yeah, what happened was, like I said, when I did this first conference, like we said, it was a whole, like you just said, faith. I'm like, Lord, you telling me to do a conference, a whole writing conference on, like you said, no money, no title, no degree, none of that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I kid you not, at the end of the conference, like we said, the overwhelming amount said, I made more money just in that one conference than I did in the
You don't need
last
nobody but God.
3
You don't need no
years.
money. It ain't about the money.
Right.
It ain't about the title. It ain't about nothing.
Exactly. And because of that, at the very end of that conference, the Lord said, see, this is why I told you to be obedient, write those devotionals. Because guess what? Now that you trusted me and
Being
did this
obedient to His
conference,
word. Being
I need you
obedient
to
when
take
you're
the
listening.
money that you made from that conference and take all those devotionals that you've been doing for the last year and take some of your favorite sermons. And then by the very end of that conference, I was able to publish a book. That conference, that first conference where I didn't know
Woo!
how I was going to make it,
Yes,
that conference
yes,
paid for this book in full, paid to publish this book in
yes.
full. And that's why whenever I look at this, when I look at both of my books, it's just like, wow, this is what faith got me. This is the definition of literally turning that pain into a pen, turning that unemployment, turning that failure, turning that rejection, turning all
Speaking.
of these things, and how the Lord rewarded me with the whole
Yes.
book. Oh, and by the way, like I said, when that after, and even just the look on my first client's face when we finished her book and holding her book in my hand, I was like, oh my God. It was I said those things happen those three areas happening simultaneously, all in 2020. Helping somebody with my first ghostwriting project, hosting my first ever writing conference, and releasing my first two books. And I said how I went from having 3 long years from 2017 to 2020, no money to no job to making 3 streams of income right
Now
at
look
home
at
as an
that.
author, as a ghostwriter,
Yes.
and as a writing conference host, and how that all God made up for all that lost time, God made up for all those tears, God made up for all the shame, all the ridicule, all the
Speaking.
humiliation. He made up for it in just one fell swoop. And now that's because at that point, it's like Lord said, stop looking outside. The money looking for, the doors you're looking for, they was all in you. And now because I stepped out on faith, like I'm all now, I started getting invited to teach writing classes and conferences, for churches and other organizations and stuff like that. But like you said, none of that would have ever happened until I stepped out on faith. And I'm great. That's why I said I thank God now that, how I put this, that I wasn't, if he gave me everything I wanted in terms like, oh Lord, I just want to preach. I want to preach at this church. I want to preach at that church. I would have been so busy doing church that I would have not had those seasons of isolations, those seasons where I wasn't getting invited to preach and speak anywhere. I would have not had that time to cultivate my writing, and I wouldn't be where I am now. And I'm grateful I trusted God with the ghostwriting, because when this first client asked me to help her, I had no idea what I was doing, but because I trusted her and I trusted God and I trusted what He placed inside of me, I developed a whole new skill and a whole new gift that I didn't know I had, and because of that, that has finally provided income that I was looking for so many years. And I said, it feels good when people ask me what I do, and it feels good to say, yeah, I'm an author, ghostwriter, and I'm a writing coach, and it feels really good to say that all things that I do right from home every day from my computer. And it's just so phenomenal for God blessing this, especially for me. I said it's preparation to me. I tell people, I said my writing conference is my first church, because it definitely, I'm just learning even just how to function, you know, in a pastoral like position, doing that, you know, checking on people, keeping up with them, all of that stuff. So that's
There's
why
so
I'm
much more
grateful.
in store for
Yeah.
you. There
So
is so
that's
much
why,
more in store for you.
yep. So that's why my
You're
pen,
being,
that's why
you're
my,
being, you're being
yeah.
right now.
Hmm.
You're being groomed. You know what I mean?
Right.
For something so much bigger. Your conferences now is going to be conferences
Right.
to come. And when I mean conferences, we're talking about stage conferences. It's
Mhm.
coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Your testimony is so yes, you're putting it turns into a pen, but it's also turned into a voice to be spoken to so
Yeah.
many others. It's you're being prepared for something so much bigger. I'm telling you that you're being
Yes.
prepared for something so much bigger. Like I feel that so in my
Yes.
spirit. Like you're being prepared for something so much bigger. And I was feeling that in me. And I'm like, let me, I just had to blurt it
Yeah.
out. Like you
Yeah.
are. And continue to do what you're doing. Continue to be obedient. Continue to listen, to continue to share your testimony because it is coming.
Yes.
It is coming for sure. And it's crazy because we just went on Facebook, y'all, just like talking about books and writing. And you're just really an inspiration on so many levels. And I do real quick, guys, I'm just doing my sponsors here, okay? And then we're gonna continue to talk. So I have this is from Moore's Awareness Teas, guys. This is NEP, and it stands for New Era Positive Hero. And my cousin had to make shirts and hats. And this right here was Neff came from my uncle, God bless his soul, who will call him Neff. And so changing lives around, from addiction to cleaning up his life. So that's what the New Era Positive Hero stands for. Also, guys, check out my earrings. Woo! Yes, y'all, check it out for my girl. I gotta find something real cute to wear with these because this is just so cute. And they're so comfortable and light. I probably bought like 10 pairs already. So I bought like 10 pairs already. So check her
That's okay. I
out.
got
It
like 10
is.
pairs of glasses. So this
Oh, you got the glasses? Okay, I got the earrings.
yeah.
Hoopdreamsaccessories.com. I'm gonna be putting that in a comment. Same with the shirts. Also, if anyone is looking for solar panels, all right, please reach out to my dude Wayne. I always say his last name wrong, but Caso. I'm gonna put that in there. That's Wayne the solar guy. I'm gonna be putting his information there, so check him out, guys, as well. And so also, guys, if you guys are looking for your ski moss, we definitely the movement ski moss is also on Instagram and Facebook. Check her out. And I'm gonna be coming soon some turmeric sea moss, ginger sea moss, and elderberry. So they're all great for different things. So get your health up. And I'm trying to think of everybody because usually I have it all written down, y'all. So please just don't mind me. But don't worry, I'm definitely. Oh, also, guys, I have to put it up here. If you're looking to get your home, and I'm trying to think of the name, but I will be putting it in there. I promise you. If you're looking to get your home disinfected, your office disinfected, I have the guy for you. Will come to you and disinfect your home, your whole home, your office space. With COVID going on. So I definitely want to put that out there. So I'm going to be sharing everything, the information on Saturday Brunch with Santa. I do ask that you guys share this show. Please go to YouTube Saturday Brunch with Santa and go subscribe, press the subscribe button. Please share the page. I would really, truly appreciate it. And also, if you yourself is looking to be a guest on the show, I'm always looking for guests. I'm always looking for different topics. Maybe you don't want to be on the show, but you have a topic idea, please let me know. I'm open for that. I love talking about different topics. So if you're open, or you know somebody who would probably like to join the show, please, please, please let me know. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So back to you, Josh. I do want to say this as well, okay, is that what can you say? Because I do agree when you talked about COVID. During this timing, we look so much at like, oh, COVID is going on. We're in the house. What are we gonna do? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm like you. I kind of felt like this is my time for something. Sometimes God allows us to be we have to seclude ourselves, as you say. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we gotta go indoors. And I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, is that God did that because this is your time to get a closer relationship with him. This was your time to build your relationship. If you didn't know him, get to know him. If you were skeptical, read it for yourself. You know what I mean?
Because a lot of people knew church, but they didn't know him.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like I said, you don't got to people. I think that society has to get this thing out. Like, you have to be holier than thy. You get what I mean?
Exactly.
No, it's your personal relationship with him. And that way, whatever it is that he needs to move and maneuver and mold and fix. And you know what I mean? He's building and molding and clearing you all up. That's between you and him. So don't think that you have to be holier than thy. Just surrender yourself unto him and let him do the rest. You get what I'm saying? That's just what I say. You get what I mean? So I think that that's what COVID did. And people were so focused on COVID, oh, I gotta be in the house. Don't get me wrong. It can make you get a little depressed being in the house all the time. Let me not say that, because it can. And a lot of people are dealing with domestic violence at home, sexual abuse at home. Families are not eating. Families are not being able to work to provide. Some families became homeless. So a lot has happened. And I don't want to take away. People have died and lost several family members. So I don't want to take away what COVID has done, in a form of the negative. So I don't want to take away from that. But what I do want to say is just make sure that you utilize this time as best as you can. Find out, we're here for a reason and for a purpose. What is your purpose? Find that time to build that relationship with God and say, hey, what is my purpose? What am I here for? Use me. Use me according to your will, not mine, according to your will. Use me. Open my eyes. I'm like, God, open my eyes, open my ears, open my heart, close my mouth. Because sometimes we do this so much that we're not listening.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Close my mouth. Humble me. Because sometimes a lot of people in this world need to be humbled. They don't know what humble is. Humble yourself unto him. Surrender yourself. And that's what is being asked of us all. And just take this 2020 time to really just build your relationship with him. Find out what is it that I need to be done. Because like I said, the cycle's not about you. I've been through some stuff, and I'm sure some of you who are watching have been through some serious things in life, But it's not about you. It's not about you. You're just that vessel that's being used. You know what I mean? And that's you, Josh. You're being used no matter what you've been through. Like you said, you felt rejected. You know how many people feel rejected every day?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you know how many people are talked about in the church and they just want to be a part of it? They just want to feel wanted and needed and appreciated, but yet they don't feel that. You know what I mean? Or how even in the world, you know how many people that want to write a book, Do you know how many people that have a life story don't know where to begin?
Exactly
To
right.
express it? So you give them that. You get what I'm saying? So if
Yeah.
you are used as the vessel to go through all of that, to give your amazing testimony on today. So I
Right.
really thank you for that.
Thank
And
you.
I
Yeah,
truly
and this
pray that
was
God continues to bless you and your gift.
yeah.
And don't forget, let us know real quick. Tell us what is going on with this conference for 2021 because I'm trying to be up in here.
Yeah. Yeah, the conference is currently going on. So we just started 3 weeks ago. So yeah, it's not too late to sign up, and then you can catch up on the videos that I already have done and will continue to do at least for another month or so. It is called the Supernatural Scribes Virtual Writing Conference 2021. I'm actually going to be doing this quarterly this year. So of course, so yeah, the first one for this year is still currently going on. You can sign up also through by reaching out directly to me, and then I have a link. I have a link that I'll share with her that she'll be able to post and stuff like that. But of course, you can just sign up by definitely contacting me. Of course, the conference is $50, so that it comes with, like both the lessons and of course pre-recorded lessons for those of you that might not be on Facebook but still want to be able to catch the lessons. You don't need to be on Facebook. Even though the conference takes place in a Facebook group, you still will be able to get everything that the conference entails, even if you're not on Facebook, because Facebook is where I do in a private group. So like we said, we talk about it, always talk about blogs, sermons, devotionals. Of course, I'm glad this is the first time I'm going to be able to teach the actual class on how to write a book now that I have my first two books out of faith and fiction. I look forward to talk about that, especially talking more in depth in that class about my superhero novel and stuff like that, and so many other lessons. So that's going on currently. You can register for $50. Definitely you got to get in contact with me and stuff like that. And yeah, it definitely comes with a copy of my book as well. It comes with a copy of my book if you would like to be part of that as well. So, yep, that is what we're currently doing. We have some amazing guest speakers. Some of my friends who are also authors will be sharing their writing experiences as well. So, yeah, we're having an amazing time already. So, definitely get in on this. We have like 20 people this year, which is really good. But of course, like I said, I'm dead since the conference is just beginning. We're still more than welcome as many as people want to come. Let a few friends, family, stuff like that who might be interested in writing or have a story, all of that. We are more than welcome to just letting you come and just being able to learn something. Because even if it's not writing a full book, you might have poetry. You might have a blog, and there might be something that you take away where now you're able to even write, because I honestly believe a lot of them might even be like people that will write plays, movies, TV shows. Honestly, I know that's where I'm going. Honestly, I know the superhero novel I want to make into a TV show in the future. So I know that's where I'm headed. So of course, writing isn't just a book, but whatever you feel you can do to share your story, we want to be able to provide you with the lessons and the tools and the strategies to make that possible. So you can sign up, of course, by reaching out directly to me for that.
So definitely reach out to him. And also, I'll put the book up there. The book is on Amazon. I don't know why it's starting to break up.
Yeah, yeah, both, like once again, yeah, both books, Dewdrops of Destiny, which is a devotional and sermon collection. This one here, and then the Kairos Night, which is a superhero novel about a preacher's superpowers. These are both available. These are both available on Amazon, both in either paperback or on Kindle. And this book, I have copies available at home. Like if you want to order directly a signed copy from me. You just reach out to me and give me your address, and you just pay the money directly to me. You can get a signed copy of this particular book currently.
So I can reach out to you and get just PayPal it, and then you can ship it to me, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question for you. So what? Give someone that's watching if you can give the one word of advice, what would it be?
If I could, I'm gonna say literally one word that's next to faith, and that word for me that I think sums everything that I've said is courage. One of my back in 8th grade, my teacher gave me a scripture that I thought I'd never heard of, which was in my favorite book in the Bible, which I'm sure you can get my favorite book in the Bible. It was Joshua, and she gave me this scripture called Joshua 1 verse 9, and up until that moment, I never heard it before. And that scripture says, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And that was my story, having to be courageous in spite of the many obstacles I face. And what courage means, what I love about courage is courage does not mean you're not afraid at all. Courage does not mean that you're fearless. Courage means stepping out on faith, trusting God anyway, believing in yourself anyway, and walking out and seeing what the end is going to be, even if you are still afraid, even if you are still nervous, even if you still feel unworthy and you still feel unqualified. You can still step out faith. You don't need to be perfect to start walking out, because you're never going to be perfect. But you may not be completely certain, but just trust him and walk out on faith. So, or in another way of saying courage, do it afraid anyway. Start the business anyway. Do the book, write the book anyway, even though you might be worried about, I don't know how you will support me, I don't know how you don't. I know numbers are important later on, but do not worry about the numbers. The church started with 12 people back 2,000 years ago, and look where we are now. So do not just be afraid of numbers. The Bible says, do not despise small beginnings. So yes, have courage, courage, courage. Do it afraid anyway, and God will take it.
Okay.
God can handle your fear. God's not intimidated. God's not intimidated by your fear. Give him your fear, and he will definitely take it, and you will still be able to walk with him. He'll walk with you. So do it afraid anyway. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Definitely. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And before we do go, I do want to say this is that I guess it's kind of really just going for what you're saying, and that is just leap and faith. Just take that leap and faith. I know times it's hard for everyone, some more than others, but I do want to say just take the time and solitude and have that one-on-one. Right. Sometimes I think that we forget, and it's including myself, okay? I'm talking to me right now too, okay? Because I'm talking to y'all out there. I pray in my car, I pray in the shower, I pray when I'm walking, I pray when I'm cleaning. And God wants us, including myself, to get on our knees like we used to do and give him that praise and give him that thanks and give him that glory. You get what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with all of that. And I'm not, trying to be holier than thou, like I said, but I do want to say that. It was just for me to say. I just felt that to say, and I'm saying this to myself as well, to get back into that moment. And that's, especially during this time, to get back to that, it's like watering a plant, as Bishop Robinson would say, it's a plant that's there and it hasn't been watered in a while. and the leaves are starting to get brown, and they're starting to like lean a little bit to the side rather than the leaves standing up, all nice and shiny and green, So we gotta add a little water in it, a little fertilizer, a little, we gotta take care of it. And that's the same thing. In order for us to be taken care of and nurtured and strengthened, you know what I mean? It's basically getting back to the basics, right? So I just say take that solitude time between you and God, your higher power, whoever, um, whoever you may serve, okay? And just have that one-on-one right now, how to do that. I don't care if it's once a week, every Friday, 8:00 p.m. This is what I'm doing. There's a lot of things going on via social media now, virtually, connect with somebody, So I just want to do that because I know it's a lot going on at these moments and times. And together, we have to come together and love on each other, pray for one another, strengthen one another. And so that's what I would want to say to everybody. And those words also go for myself as well. You know what I mean? That goes for me as well, And so, Josh, we really want to know about your training. Do we hit you up on your Facebook page?
You mean the conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Follow me on Facebook. Yeah, add me. My name is exactly the same as on the screen. My Facebook page, things like that. And then just inbox me that you want to come to the conference, and I'll definitely sign you up from there.
All right, Josh. We definitely got to talk more. We got some stuff to be doing. It's 2021. He's like, that's you.
Right.
He's like, that's you. But Josh, I want to say thank you on this Saturday. I thank you all who joined today. And I ask you guys, please continue to share, go subscribe on YouTube, and also go like on Facebook. Saturday Brunch with Santa. Again, if you're looking to be a guest or you want to bring up a topic, please reach out to me. It's greatly appreciated. And go purchase the books on Amazon Kindle or hit Joshua up in his inbox. Again, can you show us both the books again, please?
Okay. Dewdrops of Destiny, which is a devotional and sermon collection, and then the Kairos Night, which is a superhero novel. Very amazing. If you love if you love movies and shows as you see my head, you love shows like Black Panther, Black Lightning, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and also if you love those church shows like Greenleaf and Saint Sinners, this book is for you because it combines those two things together, combining those two worlds together. So this is I'm telling you, this story is good if I say so myself. It's intense, it's very powerful. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting my book and reading it. So thank you again. I look forward to having you again, Josh. And
absolutely.
Everyone, thank you. Happy Saturday. May you go all have a blessed week.
Yes.
And enjoy the day. Enjoy the day. Thank you, Josh. Have a blessed one.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.